Who am I? I'm Spider-Man.
Alright, saints and sinners, mostly saints. This is entertainment guru Mike Warner, welcoming you to another episode this week of Solo Dolo. Entertainment guru Mike Warner providing recaps of our favorite shows. Tonight, we are going to be recapping Law and Order SVU's Season 23, Episode 8, Nightmare in Drill City. Let's get started. Oh yeah, I love that sound. So guys, tonight's episode wasn't a bad episode. It was actually one of the better episodes this season. I just didn't like how, we're dumping on Carisi a little bit. What I mean by that, let me give you the NBC synopsis. Carisi asks the SVU for help with a murder investigation when one of the witnesses shows signs of abuse. That is not at all how it happened, but we'll get into that right now. Give me a second here and let's pull up the exact of what's going on. So, in this episode, Nightmares in Drill City, this episode's more or less about the new scene on how people are getting some fame and clout chasing, right? By being influencers or posting a lot on social media. So when this opens up, we have a trio with a guy and two girls. I believe it was Tori and Jasmine were the two girls. I don't remember the guy's name, but they're driving around and they notice some another guy. I think it's Mike or Miller Mark or something like that. He's posting a video he made up, rapping to some lyrics he's created or whatever. And the guy in the car with Tori and Jasmine, his name is Gunna G. He's like, oh, that's the guy that they rolled up on us. I wonder where the guy's at. Look at all that flashy stuff in the video. Like, look at the money and all the guns and the drugs and stuff. So Tori says, oh, well, I know his brother, Chris, he's kind of sweet on me. Maybe I can find out where they're at. And, that's where it starts, right? So when they get to the location, it was a studio where a few rappers were editing their recent music video. The girl was a honey trap for the two men to strong-arm their way into the studio and rob them. However, one man emerged and shot the masked driver in the head, and it caused a chain reaction massacre as the other gunman shot one of the rappers. Tori was hit by a stray bullet, and the last standing rapper, surrendered by the masked goon, shot him anyway. Snatching one of their chains and fleeing, they didn't wait on Tori, and they left without her. So Gunner G, Tori, and Jasmine and another guy show up at the house. The random guy gets shot. Gutter shoots the guy who shot him. Plus he shoots, I believe the guy's name is Chris, the rapper they were trying to, and his brother Mike. And they get killed, except for Chris lives. SVU team interviewed Tori because she was at the hospital, and she gave them intel on the shooter, Gutter, 18. He was a trap rapper too. The other girl was Jasmine, and while investigating, the crew recently dropped a music video boasting their murder weapon and the victim's chain and lyrics, incriminating themselves. And Finn tells the team, and I love Finn because Finn's our voice. He says, these kids are clout chasing. They're so stupid, they're doing their jobs for us. So, my issue with the case was Tori, it was her idea, and we see that as audience, to admit that she knows where this guy is at, or where this crew hangs out because of one of the guys likes her from the crew, and it's obviously going to lead to them saying, let's go there. So she should have saw that coming. So now Tori recognized with the video location, and she told the police where they were. So the squad goes and they raid the place, and while taking Gunner into custody, he told them Tori was behind everything and he can prove it. So now we get the question, wait a minute, is Tori the predator or was Tori the victim? Because, it opens up with her starting it, and then when SVU gets involved, now she's the victim. So while being interrogated, Gutter told the police that Tori informed them of the weakness to gain access to the crew. He stated, no one dies without Tori. Because had Tori not arranged the meeting, they wouldn't know where they were and no one would have got shot on either side. When they interrogated Jasmine, she too claimed that Tori tracked the crew down just to hang with them, telling police she was the wildest one on the crew. So now we find out that Tori may not be as innocent as she is perceived. I actually liked the way the case was going. Just in society and today and all this bad policing and based on race and blah, blah, blah. I liked how Tori was going to get in trouble for what she initiated and how she started it. So SVU pressed on Tori and she lawyered up. And while being interviewed in the presence of her lawyer, they made a striking case that Gutter was abusive and trafficked her. And if she didn't do his deeds, her life was in danger. Now, Carisi knew he wouldn't have a case without Tori's cooperation, so he took his concerns to Chief Justice Maxwell, and she stifled the ADA as the case became high profile since Gutter's video garnered a couple million views in a few days. Furthermore, she wasn't prepared to cut a deal with the quote-unquote white woman and throw the black man under the bus without due justice. And that's why I was finally happy to hear that they were playing it right? She started it, she initiated it, she needs to go down with them or go down for whatever. But she needs to be included in the charges, in my opinion, as well. Rollins is normally my favorite because she's conservative in most cases. Was very upset that this young girl, Tori, was going to be essentially going down and getting jail time, although she was supposedly trafficked in all these years and blah, blah, blah. And Carisi understood it, but Carisi also said, hey, listen, she's living in the life. She's staying with them. She's hanging with them. So clearly it wasn't as bad as she made it out. And they have their little moment where she doesn't understand why Carisi's not pushing hard. So SVU goes after and does a separate investigation to determine that Tori was in fact trafficked and made to be afraid of Gutter in the beginning. And now as time went on, just come to want and desire that attention. So Carisi revisited Maxwell and proved his case. He took the deal to Tori and her lawyer, but she turned it down, opting to take her chances in front of a jury in court. While in trial, Jasmine painted Tori as the person who was responsible for the triple murder. The weak link, Chris, also testified describing his injuries and that his brother was murdered. And he pretty much said, if it wasn't for me, my brother'd still be alive, and if I didn't like Tori and tell her where we were, this would have never happened. So when Tori got on the stand, I really thought for sure Carisi was just going to go super easy on her because, Rollins is giving him crap and Benson's telling him he remembers what it's like working with victims and blah, blah, blah. So he got up on the stand, and they illustrated her past abuse, her gruesome injuries, and how Gutter threatened her to set the men up. Carisi pressed Tori, painting her out to be someone who loved the lifestyle. Although abuse came with the territory, she had several chances to get out, but returned every time. Rollins, Velasco, and Welcome Back Joe this week, and Benson consulted afterwards, seeing the cross-examination as damaging for Tori. However, Benson got an epiphany to re-interview Jasmine, thinking she may have not told the whole truth about the deadly night. So Benson, being a fabulous Benson as always, goes back and wants to interview Jasmine one more time. So Finn and Velasco go to Jasmine and they question her and get her to talk about her past abuse, and pleaded with the women to turn against Gutter. His stronghold on the woman was so great that she resisted at first, but ultimately Jasmine cooperated because she didn't want to go to jail either. She ain't stupid. Carisi took his concerns about Jasmine's change of statements to Chief Maxwell and the Bureau Chief Philip Baptiste. They wanted him to be a strong closer on the murder case and to stop playing both sides. Yet he convinced them that sometimes justice is about compassion. My favorite part of the episode was how the black guy was like, when Benson came in talking about how she was trafficked and she was a victim and da-da-da-da-da, Baptiste was like, okay, here we go. The white girl's a victim. And then there was a piece in the investigation. They found out that Gutter had actually split open Tori's head at one point and brought her to the emergency room, Beth Israel. And they were like, oh, there's no record of this. So they went and apparently was able to track down and find the nurse who saw her the year prior. And the nurse explained that, she was there and she did seem afraid for her life. And she was actually dragged out by a young black man who fit the description. And as soon as Benson said that, Baptiste, he was right on it. He was like, of course, Oh, here we go. The generic young black man who fits the description. So I actually really, really enjoyed seeing the inner workings and knowing that they're aware of how the public views things and how the public will try to misconstrue, but they're also not willing to just go with those misconstrusions and let it go. So now, you know, puts it back on them to do their job and really work to find out what the actual charges should be, who should be getting charged, and what was in the scope of things. So they end up not dropping the charge, not getting rid of all the charges, but lessening the charges for the two girls and making them serve community service and mandatory counseling. While Gutter G unfortunately gets the brunt of it, and now he's going to go to jail because that's where all black men belong, in jail, aka trap rappers and whatnot. Not all black men. I'm being facetious, people. But they get to it, and Rollins was very happy with the change, and it was nice because Chief Baptiste and Chief Maxwell, have a press conference at the end. They talk about why they dropped their case, and they pretty much regurgitated exactly what Carisi said to them to the media, where sometimes justice is about compassion and how they want to do what's right and make sure that the proper people are going to jail and not victims. They dropped the murder charges against Jasmine and Tori, and while proceeding with less harsher charges got them out of jail. They didn't want to punish victims of coercion and sex crimes. So it stayed true to the show and making sure they're not punishing victims. I just didn't I think Tori should have went to jail, because had Tori just shut her mouth, no one would have said, hey, how can we get in touch with them? They would have been, and it would have been a different episode. So I get it. We needed her to open her mouth and offer her abilities in order to make the episode it was. Now, my issue with the episode is this. Carisi is in a better position because now he's the ADA, right? He's the new Barber, the new Cabot, the new Novak. And he's actually doing really good because he does remember what it's like working with victims. So I love this dynamic, and I love having someone fresh off of being a detective as the ADA. I know you guys don't want Barber back. Barber sucked, guys. He didn't win many cases, so he can stay where he's at. Actually, I'm looking forward to his return on the 9th of December, because he's going to come back in a great role, and I can't wait to see him piss all of you guys off who think you want him back in SVU. I digress. But my issue with it was because Carisi and Rollins are now an item or a thing or whatever they are, and they're trying to keep it under wraps. I don't like this portrayal of Carisi not changing his stance, but maybe not taking the slack that he's getting from his colleagues when it comes to prosecution and whatnot. I more so, it's not even Carisi I don't like that Rollins and Benson are heavily depending on Carisi's ability as the ADA. And even when he was the assistant ADA, they still were going to him you need to push this and you need to help us get... No, you guys forgot the formula. The formula is crime happens, it's a sex crime. We find out what happened. We find out the players. And on the episodes where they go to court and we have to see a trial, you guys present all the information that gives the ADA the ability to present the best case. It's not the other way around, where now that he has his case and any questions or plot holes come up, it's now Carisi's job to deflect or fill those holes so that the case can stay as strong as it is. That is not his job. He is the ADA. He prosecutes and he gets the win. You all, Velasco, Finn, Rollins, Benson, until we get one more detective so that you're not on the scene on the interrogation every episode. You guys are the ones who need to present the best case. It shouldn't have taken the interrogation of Jasmine and the interrogation of Gutta to determine that Tori was a victim of sex crimes. And it shouldn't have taken all that time, in my opinion, to rechange it. If that's the case, you guys jumped the gun on the investigation portion and automatically went to charging, and that's why it left Chief Maxine and Chief Baptiste with the original stance of, well, no, we can't just let her go because, you know, the white girl said it wasn't her, and it wouldn't, you know, she didn't plan it that way. She didn't intend for people to get hurt. No. She was initially the starter and the initiator of the crime, the ringleader, let's say. Because if it wasn't for her intel on saying, hey, I know the little brother of Miller Mike or Mac Miller or whatever the rapper's name was that they shot, Gutter would have never said, all right, well, let's go there, find out where they at. So she did initiate it, and Gutter was 100% right. Yes, he was a criminal because he did shoot Miller Mike and the other guy back in retaliation. But he didn't have to shoot Miller Mike because Miller Mike surrendered. But he did shoot him, and he took his chain. So yes, it was messed up that he killed him. So he deserved going to jail. However, I think Tori got off easy, and Jasmine was just collateral damage. So I mean, she could have gotten the community service, but Tori was the one who said, hey, I know where they're at. Regardless of her past abuse, in that scene, in that moment, there was no abuse. She wasn't being threatened, and no one told her, if you don't show us where he's at, we're going to kill you. So that's where I didn't like how they kind of repainted it. And then all of a sudden now Carisi had to go to his boss, or not even to his boss, to the homicide ADA, essentially, Chief Baptista and Chief Maxine, and say, hey, so the person we were initially charging with the triple murder or involved in the triple murder is actually a victim too, and you know, we don't want to prosecute victims and push them in because then victims won't come to us. Well, had the detectives did their job and fished this out a little bit more, instead of going for the easy win that they thought they had in the beginning, I think it would have been better. I mean, don't get me wrong, the episode still played out very well. I love Carisi in court, so I love when we get episodes of Carisi doing his thing and flexing in court. I just want you guys to continue to bring him cases that he doesn't have to do work as a detective to get the pleas or things turned around to make more sense. And I want him to be the bomb diggity ADA, like Novak and Cabot, and even dare say Stone. This way he never has to go the way of Barbara and Rollins. Work is work, home is home, so don't be coming down on my boy when you don't agree with his tactics as the ADA. He is the ADA for a reason. You are a detective for the reason. So let's remember our roles when it comes to that portion of it, and make sure you guys are going to be involved. You don't bring home work. I know you're going to talk about it. We all talk about work at home, but don't bring home your judgment on how they're doing their job. Carisi doesn't judge you on how you're a good or bad detective or how sloppy your detective work gets on an episode. So you can't judge him or convict him on how he handles or he thought he should handle the case as the ADA, given that he is the ADA. Okay? That's all I have to say on that. That's where I stand on it. Keep going in this limelight. It was a very nice, clean episode overall. I just am very opinionated because I want Carisi to be the shining ADA that he can be, and I don't want any chance of Barbara coming back as an ADA, and I don't want anyone replacing him and him getting put back into the life of a detective, because although he was a good detective, I think he makes a better ADA, and I think it works better for the dynamic of the show. So I'm very happy with where they're going and keeping him in that form and in that light. So guys, I need your help. Tell me your feedback. Tell me you disagree with me. Tell me you agree with me. Tell me whatever you'd like in the comments underneath our post today. Let us know your feedback. Like us, subscribe us, rate us. Okay? We want you to tell us how we're doing. Give us feedback. We're always looking to get better. We're here for you guys. Remember, it's because of you, the great listeners, who allow us to be here and continue to do what we're doing. Season 8. We're going to, have a couple of weeks off. We'll be back in December 9th, or for the week of December 9th and 8th episodes. And then we'll be off for a little bit for the holidays. But don't be alarmed, because TiVoMike and myself have created another podcast called My Watch List. And in My Watch List, we are filling up your watch list with things to watch during the show holes. Not only have I watched almost everything on the watch list, I'm already working on new stuff for the future watch list. So tune in, give us some love, come by, listen. We're on every platform where you can find the podcast. It's the TiVoMike Show. It's the only TiVoMike Show. And rate us, subscribe, like us, follow us. I'm EasyMike84 on Twitter. He's TiVoMike on Instagram. Give us a reason to keep doing what we're doing. And let us know where we stand, guys. We're trying to get up there. We hit 5,000 downloads about a month ago. We're aiming for 15,000 by January. Help us get there. We appreciate you. And again, this was the recap for Law & Order SVU. You have a good week.